or someone would ask me the other day, she's like, what are you going to do when you actually find someone really similar to you? Would you get along? I was like, gosh, no way. Welcome back to Shower Thoughts, everyone, with Sam and Leroy. So I've got a question for Leroy today. And I guess it's something that's becoming a bit more relevant in our lives as we grow up and we have more time commitments. You know, we have other things we're having to try and commit a lot of ourselves to. And we don't have the free time like we used to when we were younger. So my question today is, how do you keep friendships?
That's a very good question, Sam. How do I keep friendships? Yeah, pretty much everything you're saying there is so true. That's the one thing that I don't really tell you about. As you get older, you know, your time starts to sort of dwindle a bit, and you can't exactly afford to just do shit all the time, and just like,
you're spread out here, like you're spread out there, and there's just it gets a bit chaotic. When times were simpler, all you had to worry about was school, uni, even just like casual work, whatever.
Yeah.
You didn't have as many things kind of clouding your life and spreading you as thin.
Yeah, exactly. And like you didn't know as many people either. Like everyone you kind of knew was probably all in the same little bubble. So you could somehow get along with maintaining a lot of friendships by just attending like parties, because most people you kind of were friends with would be there. So like that would kind of tick that off. But yeah, definitely as we get older, it gets harder, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. So the first thing that I've noticed, I reckon, in my own like way of maintaining friends is, firstly, I have to discover which friendships are worth maintaining.
Yeah.
And the way I've done that now is, you have those sort of friends that maybe you're the one who's always messaging and like, hey, let's chill, or like, what are you up to? And you don't really receive any response back in terms of like, oh, let's hang out, or like, let's do this. It's just more like, yeah, okay, cool. Let's, if that makes sense. Actually,
yeah, no, I get it.
Like, they're just like, yeah, they're just more like, yeah, you want to hang out? Yeah, sure. And then they never ask you that back. It's more of a one-way street. And so I've really put that mantra into like I'm going to treat like the friendships I'm worth looking after as a two-way street. Like, yes, I'll ask you to hang out, but if you don't ask me to hang out or ask me to do anything, like, that street is slowly going to close down. There'll be road work, and then that street will be closed. So that's sort of one of my criterias of who I'm actually maintaining as a friend.
Yeah, okay.
If there's that back and forth.
So a way of figuring out like how to maintain things is actually figuring out whether it's worth maintaining in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like, you meet people and like you have this like awesome friendship, this awesome connection, and it's like, it's like small wood burning a light. Like it just catches a blaze, but then it dwindles and like just becomes nothing. Yeah. And that's to make it like into like a nice fire. You need to be putting those wood, that ember, that fuel, that, that back and forth connection. And if it's not there, it's just going to die eventually. So that's what I do to sort of, I do this subconsciously now, just to figure out like if this connection is actually real, if it's worth it. Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that makes me think, what about like people who are very time poor? Like, obviously that everyone wants to keep their friends, but we're all going to go through phases of life where we have varying levels of, stress and other things we're committed to, and I guess time in general. Yeah. So how do you modify, I guess, that two-way street approach for when life gets crazy?
Yeah. So, yeah. When it comes to time, like, I use a very loose example of what I sort of started doing. Like when I'm driving somewhere, that's like 30 minutes or 40 minutes. Instead of just listening to tunes or, sometimes listen to a podcast, I would actually just call up my friend and use that time, like, that I wouldn't have initially to sort of keep that relationship going, have a conversation for 30 minutes while I'm going somewhere. Yeah. So I've been trying to do a lot of things like that. and maybe pairing up my sort of activities, so like running or like sport or gym, things that you have to do anyway or that you're going to do anyway, but like try to pair it up with your friends, so you're killing two birds with one stone. I think that's maybe the best way to deal with like reduced time in general, by consolidating two different activities into one.
I guess it like making the most of that time too, adding things, or doing something extra while you're doing something like mundane. It almost adds to the point of if you want it to work, you'll make it work.
Yeah, exactly. And like also, I guess with most of my friendships, like my solid friendships, like you don't really need to see them. Like we didn't see each other for pretty much a year and a half.
Yeah.
We didn't like we texted and stuff, but it wasn't like always all the time either.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of assurance when you have an assuring relationship. You don't have to talk all the time. Yeah. You can be like, all right, we message here and there, nothing for a week. Oh, what are you up to next week?
Yeah,
let's hang out. We put that on the date. We don't talk for like 7 days, 8 days, and then we meet up and it's just normal.
Yeah.
And maybe that doesn't happen with all friendships.
Yeah.
But
it's one of those things where, like you were saying before about getting an idea of what friendships are worth maintaining and which ones aren't.
Yeah.
I think for me an important thing is having faith in the friendships, knowing that you don't need that interaction all the time. There's that connection there anyway. And I feel like for me that connection kind of spans like the length of time, no matter how much it's kind of, watered or how well you keep that soil of that tree, it's still going to be there. It's not like all of a sudden all the conditions just change and this tree just dies. Like if you put enough work into it, it's going to stay alive for a very, very long time.
Yeah, exactly.
Longer than our time spans. Like I know there's so many friends that I have that, you don't even need to check in with them, don't even talk to them. And you just know that they're not going anywhere. Like when you have the time, when you have a bit more commitment you can give, all of a sudden it's there and there's like this beautiful bright spark. But it never really left. It was just slowly burning in the background because it always went into like this efficient state. But I guess that's my logistical mind thinking about it again.
Yeah, I think like when you're saying that, I think a big aspect is also what sort of friend are you? Like if you're one of those people who's very high demanding of your friends and like, maybe not making the conversations so like just fun, but like, just like, that you have those friends that are always just asking for like advice or like just, just if something's always going wrong.
There's just something on all the time.
Something's always going wrong, or it's more like they come to you as like a therapy session.
Yeah.
And so if you're like, I try not to be that friend too much. Like, yes, that's what your friends are there to listen, but like, sometimes we just out here to just relax and hang out. And I think if you're like more of that sort of less demanding friend, you probably will find that it's easier to maintain friendships and you don't actually have to see each other as much because you have that sort of, connection where you don't depend on this person wholeheartedly for your own emotional and sanity and stuff like that.
You're not depending on that high energy flow all the time just to keep this bright burning, fire alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it just comes down to, personalities again. And everyone's just so different.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy thing about it. Then you find these random pairings all the time. And I know I have a good example where I'm very much more of like a slow burner where I commit myself to a lot of things. I don't have too much time. And then I've got a good friend who is just all the time. It's like, why aren't we doing something? We should be doing this. And I'm like, I've just got so many things on at the moment.
Yeah.
And then I think just because we've just known each other for so long, she's kind of started to learn like that little trait.
Yeah.
That trait of it's all fine, like nothing's wrong. It's just every once in a while I just need my own time, my own space to finish something.
Yeah. And
then I'll come back to whatever we were doing before.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's do you reckon it's easier to maintain friendships the longer they are?
I do.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think a big part. I was thinking about this when I was thinking about the question. I think a big part is like how much they've grown in terms of how long they've been going on for. Like, you just know those people that you've just grown up with, where it doesn't really matter what kind of happens.
Yeah.
Whenever you run across them, all of a sudden it's just exactly where it left off. And I think sometimes it's kind of scary, like almost feeling like you've lost that feeling in someone. You see him and then all of a sudden it's like, bang, I had nothing to worry about the whole time.
Yeah.
Nothing changes, and you just have this like comfortable, reliable thing you can just tap into when you need to. But in saying that, you also have to be there for them too.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, man. Like, it's just that two-way street. If anyone's listening and they're realizing their friendship's a one-way street and they want to maintain that friendship, you got to make it a two-way street.
Yeah. I think that sometimes just being open and just like having that conversation in the first place is a really easy way of just problem solving for the future. At least if you both understand where the other person's coming from, it'll make sense instead of just everyone being confused and not saying anything the whole time.
Yeah.
So, when you mentioned something interesting before about combining two things together, and it made me think of like sport and exercise is like this, like for me has always been this ultimate tool of, I feel like that's where most of my social connections come from, and that's where they kind of get maintained. I guess there would be two main things. It's going out and doing something fun, or going out and exercising. Like, pretty common, right? But for me, if someone's willing to come out on a run, amazing. You know, they can have as much of my time as they want because I'm going to be doing my thing anyway.
Yeah.
And they get to come along and do something too. So I think being able to do things together in like any kind of physical exercise way is an amazing way of, like you said, getting two birds with one stone.
Yeah, that's like I learnt this one. I was talking to someone a bit older than us, and I was just asking like, yeah, how do you maintain friendships? And it was like, yeah, the best way is to do that. Like, for example, like, yeah, running, cycling, just some sort of exercise, because it just kills, two birds with one stone. And also like the endorphins that are released when you're exercising, and then having your friend there, like, just like they join together and it makes this one big happy person.
Yeah. And the best part about, I guess, the exercising side of it is there's so many different variations of things you can get into. We're both competitive and we love basketball. Incredible. You know, we have a little casual basketball team, which suits us perfectly.
Yeah.
Other people hate it. You know, they don't want to do anything competitive. They just want to do something chill and easy. No worries. Zach, a coffee and a beach walk, you know, once or twice a week hits the exact same thing. You have to keep up that, you know, that beautiful connection with that friend doing that same thing.
Yeah.
You can do so many things where, you know, like HIIT classes, like F45, getting a gym program and like just doing it together. Like going and doing like a PT session, you know, once a week.
There's a lot to do, isn't there?
There's so much to do. So just, I think some people might hide behind the notion of, oh, sports is like a team-based thing. It's not anymore. No. Like maybe it used to be, but now we've seen this massive shift to what essentially is like solo training, like, you know, gym, like weightlifting, walking, running, etc. People have just created these giant social communities out of it, and you can just tap into them. We literally within a day, you and your mate can have signed up to a gym membership and just be going walking on the treadmill, jumping on the bike, or
exactly,
or learning how to lift weights, you know, a couple of times a week. And you just going through that stuff together, all of a sudden it's like, wow, like now we've kind of committed to this thing. And that kind of friendship almost takes that next little step.
That is a whole nother friendship. Hey, when you're like gym buddies, training buddies, that teaches accountability. Yeah, that's when you know, that gets you like, probably it's helped me like achieve my goals in terms of fitness, having that accountability person, because some days you're just like, oh, I cannot be bothered. But then like the other person's like, yo, let's go. Like, oh shit, yeah, let's go. But you're better for it.
And there's that thing of making the plans, and then like I know for us we both have those times like early in the morning when when you just want to like, nah, I just want to stay in bed. And you know the other person is thinking that you're excited to go when realistically they're having the exact same battles in their bed.
It's a cold war to see who texts first.
And they're like, if I know for us as when we were hungover, there's like a feeler message that got shot out.
Yeah, it's like, so,
how you feeling?
Last time was pretty big.
Yeah, pretty big. Like, what? Should we just go chill? And then it goes from like chilling in the gym to going getting a feed.
Yeah, but we're better for that. Like, it's so much better. That's how you beat like a hangover and stuff like that. But yeah, back to that question. Like, maintaining friendships, I think it's hard. The older we get, the harder it gets. Yeah. But also the more creative you can be, and I guess maybe in our cases, the more wholesome your connections can be. It's not just like, mates that you just meet up to get drunk and then disappear for the rest of the week and then come out of the woodwork on Thursday and, repeat.
Yeah.
But like, you can get out there and go for walks, take on some new challenge together, explore something, travel, whatever. But I think that the most important thing is probably that two-way street. Because if your friendship's not a two-way street, that friendship's just gonna die.
It's probably just gonna end up hurting.
Yeah, it's gonna end up hurting. Even like any relationship, to be honest, like some relationships are meant to be like maybe one way, but most aren't. And like, yeah, I feel like if it's making me think quite a bit about our relationship right now. I'm like assessing if there's how many streets we got here. It's. Even if your friend doesn't say it, I think it's important to approach it in a two-way street, because otherwise,
I think a really interesting thing we might have to talk about in another episode is, I guess, kind of like love language in terms of what people value to them in terms of a relationship. I think you could do the same for a friendship.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting thought in terms of what values sit in what order. But in terms of the values of the friendship, I think just communicating it is a really, really important part. And it's just it's that lapse in communication that usually ends up in someone getting annoyed.
Yeah.
All of a sudden the gap just grows and grows and grows. So if you can at least be on the same page, amazing. You'll figure that shit out straight away.
Exactly.
Yeah, well done, my friend. That was a tricky question.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone has any tips for us, we'd love to hear it. And yeah, we'll catch everyone next time.